大会主席，各位女士、先生们，早上好。我今天非常高兴有这个机会，应邀北林赵广杰教授还有木材试验网的邀请吧，来参加这个大会。以前呢没有参加过这种木文化的这种大会，通过这次大会呢，听了一些专家的报告，我感触非常。
I have been listening to many of the speeches, and I have learned a lot. I have come on a very short notice, so I haven't done my homework pretty well, so my speech will be very brief. My topic is toward understanding Chinese wood culture of ancient wood buildings and unearthed wood relics by wood identification. It's a very ambitious topic, but here I would like to focus on the limited work that our research institute has been doing. So just limited to our research work. I'd like to focus on 7 aspects. So it will be very brief. In northwest of China, Beijing, southeast, some of our testing of the unearthed products, our wood identification. And the last year, Professor Yi Dong has made a report about some of our comparison with Japanese culture. Now here, I have listed some of the work have been done by our research institute. It's not comprehensive altogether. I have listed 5 ancient buildings identification, and 2 of these are on the World Heritage list. For example, Buddha Lagoon, which is built on a very high altitude, which was built to welcome the princess from Tang Dynasty that has been married to Tibet. And we have studied the columns and the window frames, selected some of the sample and did the wood identification. Back then, we were invited by the by the Tibet Relics Bureau, and it was a very short trip, and for the sake of protection of the relics, we didn't get much sample. And our wood identification: populus, cypress, cedar, and salix. So very concentrated or limited use. Buddha Lagoon was built on a height of 3,700 meters. And Shaolin Temple is also built. Sajia Temple is also built on a very high altitude. However, during the Cultural Revolution, there was great damage to the temple, and because of thieves or stealing, there are still some relics that are buried in the earth, and many were lost. 700 years of old, and also on the National Heritage List. And we are thinking of applying for World Heritage List. We've done research on the wooden columns, wood beams, posts, and some of the metal panels, and some Buddhist sculpture. Still, populus is the most widely used wood species. And another is Luobulinka, which is also in Lhasa of Tibet, of Qinghai province, but it is not built on a mountain. It's more like a garden. And in Tibetan language, they say it is a garden palace, which is the summer palace for Dalai. 300 years old, and it's on the World Heritage List. We've done study on the wooden posts and columns. Still, wood identification populous. And later we went from Tibet to a higher altitude. And later we went to the Shaolin Temple, where Ban Chan was living. And after Ban Chan passed away, the body of Ban Chan was kept there, and the sculpture for Ban Chan was also kept there. And when it was built, 1447, so 600 years old, we did study on the columns and the beams, wood identification, cypress. I haven't done a very detailed, and also fir. And later we went to Tai Sin, a very important spot of interest, 700 years old. We did study on the wood column, beams, posts, and floor. So still populous and fir. So we can see that in this part of the area, populous, silex, and fir were widely used. And this is the picture taken at the square of the Lagoon, because the Lagoon is nearer to the sky, so blue sky, white clouds, and golden roofs, really impressive. If you have a chance, do go there. And many houses and buildings of Buddha Lagoon were built on top of the Hongshan mountain, so they are built on rocks. The topology is very different. In order to have a better investigation, we climbed into the under-earth caves to do the research. This is the Shaolin Temple. We studied the frame and the ceiling. There is damage from insects because there is a great humidity. This is not like the top of the mountain. So here you can notice that the wood has been eaten by those worms, and they have become powder. And this is the Shaolin Temple. They say that this script is also very amazing. And the frames holding the manuscripts are have been bent. And in Shaolin Temple, there are many treasures. And in the earth, I found these sculptures. It really shocked me with their beauty. And I guess it might be made of but we don't. It might be made of Pterocarpus. And now I'd like to talk about some of the work around Beijing. In Shisanling, we did the following work. The 14th emperor died after he has been in the reign for 29 years. But this relics is 400 years old.
So it is also a national heritage. So we have identified, we have inspected the doors and the windows. All the wood are very precious, which is was very seen in the northwest China, and then we used carbon 14 to detect the window, the wood on the window and the door, found to find out the date, the year of when it was established. Another place is the Museum Palace. Museum Palace is one of the most advanced and most precious group of museums, palace of there. Lucian and the State Council did the investigation there together. We have identified about 300 woods, including the beams, posters, and then we found out that in Summer Palace, they used 9 softwood and 6 hardwood. All of them are precious woods. We found out Nananguo and Inqie wood, which were not produced in China. They were grown in the Southeast Asia. I thought when the palace was built, they just imported the wood from the Southeast Asia. Shaolin Temple, it is a temple of over 1,000 years. It is also a state-protected temple. We took wood. Here you can see the photo. Later, after our detection, we found out that it was built about 1,000 years ago. The same year with the documentation. And then another site is the first building of Shanghai One. We have done some work in terms of maintenance and anti-corrosion. We also did a lot of wood identification, like the poster and the beams. After our identification, we found out all of them are first and hardwood. And this is a photo where we participate in the Summer Palace maintenance. This is the pillar of the palace. We have done some research and identification. These 2 photos are the Qingling tomb, the wood from the Qingling tomb. They are under maintenance. We just take a very small part of it. This is Minglou building. All these woods are very precious and very expensive. Although there's a little cracks, but overall the protection is very good. There are a lot of autonomy exports here. It has a lot of features can show the species of the wood. This is the glass door. It need to be taken away and taken down for permanence. You can see. We also have done some identification on that wood. We also identified the wood at the lower part of the door. We can see it is the pine wood. It is very. We can see it very clear. The feature for the species is very clear. The upper part is different. They do not use the one species for the entire objects. The upper part is the Piscia species. The features of the Piscia species different from what we saw. At the same time, they also use the Abies species. And the protection is comparatively complete and good. This is the wood from the Tai Temple. Just like I have said, the photo of the wood we taken away from the temple. You can see some corrosion on the surface of the wood. We also did the carbon-14 identification. We can see that it is made of the Pinus species. Also, they have the vertical and the horizontal lines, but we can see a lot of clear features to show the species. In the southeastern part of the Jin province, they have a lot of ancient buildings and structures, but the protection is not very good. They are now applying for the World Heritage. I'm very lucky to be invited to participate in the projects. We have taken samples from these two sites. Shaolin Temple, it has a history of 1,000 years. So you can see they are very precious for a long history. We have done some identification of the beam and the pillar. So it's a little bit strange for the identification project. You can see on the slide the species. In the Shaolin Temple, the protection is also very good. We have done some identification on the beams and the roofs. I found out the species. You can see on the slide. And Shaolin Temple, I'm told that it has a very, very long history. It can be dated back in Jin period. It is very valuable for us to learn the culture at that time. After identification on the wood boat, we have found out the species there. Okay, this is the photo of the Shaolin Temple. The protection is good. This is the two beams and the post. This is the two beams. With colorful paintings on it. It is a very special beams. The photo shows the windows and doors. This is the Shaolin Temple. After the identification, we found out the pinus species and the populus species are used there. In the Shaolin Temple, most of the wood are the almond species. You know, the almond is very strong in fighting the corrosion. So you can see very clear features and the signs showing the species. So it's a little bit easy for identification because of all these features. You can see the Shaolin Temple. I think for the sake of easy manufacturing, they use the Quercus species. Okay, I will talk my first part of my presentation. We also participated in the anti-corrosion building wood identification. We have been working with the Shanghai Shaolin Temple and the Qionghai building. These two buildings have a history only 20 years. You know, the Shanghai building, we can see the picture and the photos later. Because these two buildings is a replica of a very famous old building, so we have done some wood identification for the old buildings and found out the species used there. You can watch on the slide. I guess they were imported from the North America. As like in the Shaolin Temple, the Shanghai building, they are near the ocean. So, like I said, for 1,000-year temple, we need 1,000 wood, 1,000-year-old wood. After my guesstimation, the tree has a history of only 30 years. So after only about 10 years, they got corrosion. For the Shaolin Temple, we found out the species. We identified the species used in there. Another is the Xiangshan building. and this is also a replica of an old building. That day, they called me because the building collapsed suddenly. There are a lot of news coverage, and we were asked to go there to detect the reason. The wood was also imported from the North America, and found out species are not very good. That's the reason why they collapsed all of a sudden. This is the Chenhai Road building, as it will face the sea, so it is very strong, very high. This is our team. The building is the photo shows the framework we built and our work on identification. We have been using 9 methods for that identification. The first is naked eye watching, and then we use some simple knives and hard screwdrivers to check, and we use some nails to see the corrosion conditions of the wood, and then a lot of building has a very high water content, so especially for the basics of buildings, so we have done some water content ratio. If we find out problems, we will use some equipment like resistance equipment to. There's a needle can be put into the wood, and we can see from the monitor the corrosion conditions of the wood. We are not clear the internal conditions of the wood, so we use a lot of other equipments. For example, this is the EV. We have 2 channels to check the internal conditions, and then we can see the internal conditions from the basis to the upper part. We use 6 channels to see the different the densities and the corrosion conditions, and how serious the corrosion is. On the beam, we use ultrasonic equipment to do the checking. For Chenhai building, we didn't find out any corrosion sign, but the local people heard a lot of cracks in it. So they want to know whether there are problems inside the wood. So we didn't see any cracks or apparent signs. We just get inside to see what the conditions. Another, we used some speech identification way. And the last one is we use the basic density testing and find out that some of the wood is not very strong. You can see this is the basis. The corrosion is very serious. We need a replacement for the base. This is the second floor of the Shaolin Temple. Because of the rune leaking, there is a serious corrosion at the joints. I want to give you now a very brief introduction to see the unearthed wood structure. I think some of the people have talked yesterday about the unearthed wood articles and the coffins. We also did research. I will give you some typical examples like the Langdui, Ma Wangdui site. We have do the identification to tomb number 1 to 4 and find out the species they were using to make the coffin you can see on the slide. The house, the general ordinary people have the habit of growing trees. They want to use the same species when they are alive and when they are dying. When we see there's no damage inside, because of the series closeness, which shows that the ancient people are very clear about there's a very deep philosophy about how to choose the species.
And this is another site near Beijing. Because wood structure is different from different dynasties. So the wall is fir, it's using cypress, but for the ceiling floor is cedar. And the outside is still for the coffin. The exterior part of the coffin is Pterocarpus. Laoshanhao tomb in Beijing. The excavation of the tomb is really a surprise, but there isn't much left because of the thieves and the stealing. It is China's 5th major tomb. Later, I logged onto the web and I found that there is great disputes. People believe it's a tomb that is up to an imperial family status. However, according to some of the recordings, if it's an imperial family's tomb, then only cypress is used. However, according to our survey of the coffin, not only cypress is used, cedar and other kind of species are also used. So our opinion is that it is not a tomb from the imperial family, and another part of the tomb is using 100% cypress, but only one part of it. And also about another tomb is Gaoshanchu tomb. It is 2,000 years old, and Jiao Kova and Pterocarpus are used for the coffin, which shows that back in that ancient time, people already have a lot of knowledge about what kind of wood materials is good for coffin. And yesterday we've heard a speech from the Hubei Museum about some of the items that are put into the coffin. We also did some survey on these items. For example, in Ma Wangdui tomb, it is colorful. The items are colorful. And salix, no, sorry, not salix, populus is used. And Dabao Tai is also Pterocarpus is used, which is also a widely seen softwood in China. But for the one part of the bed is using Tilia species. This is the Gaoshanchu tomb, and some of the items that are buried under earth. This is the interior of the paw of the coffin, the interior side of the coffin. This is an extended bed, and this is a bed that can be folded. Very delicate dry lacquer box. A wooden earring. After identification, we notice that this is made of Zelkova. All this Zelkova. the cover, Zhao cover. And the Zhennan picture I forgot to put in here. This is the bag using Tilia species. Tilia. This is the leftover of the earring. Also, Pterocarpus. The seventh part is our comparison with some Japanese, and I'm borrowing some of the Professor Idong's information and subject to your criticism. I'll not go through this one by one. 3 areas. If you compare the 3 areas, we can compare the application of the softwood and hardwood. In Japan, professors have done very detailed job, like cypress and fir. There are some similarities. Zelkova are both used in the 2 countries, but Zelkova is not made into structures but into coffins in China. So situation is not the same. And also for coffin, like a Japanese professor has commented yesterday, some of Chinese fir is used, and Japanese cedar, and some of the fir trees from northeast of China. And according to his articles, some of this wood might have been imported from China or from Korea, which shows that there were close economic and cultural exchanges in wood back then. I will be as quick as possible. My conclusion first. The wood structure in China was based on a pragmatic principle. For example, Buddha Lagoon, and in northwest of China, we have been looking at Tibet resources, which is abundant in firs, cypress, and cedar, and pine trees. That's why a big project like Buddha Lagoon only use local resources, or mostly use local resources. And secondly, it has something to do with the dry climate in northwest of China. If you use populous or Zelkova in the interior, in other parts of China, then it will not be okay. And if we compare these 3 areas, we know there are very different utilization of wood, especially in the Hebei, south to east of Hebei, compared with northwest of China and Beijing. Some differences can be found. And in the Forbidden City, because it's an imperial palace, there is great financial support. And there are all kinds of resources that can be used, especially precious resources that might have been imported from Southeast Asia, which shows close economic ties with Southeast Asia back then. And the Sajiasi in Xizang, in Tibet, is also another typical example as to which kind of sculptures, Buddhist sculptures that fall into. We are not experts in that regard, but it's true that it is very delicate design and sculpture, and still you can even feel the polishing after so long time, especially thanks to the attribute of Pterocarpus. There can't be such kind of trees in Tibet, so according to our preliminary guess, this Pterocarpus might have been imported from India, which is in specific Pterocarpus centralinus. And fifthly, the next is that in north part of China, most of the recent sculptures is only using hardwood resources, and only few softwood has been used in recent history. That the golden column of the Beijing Tiananmen Tower is still using soft wood that have been imported from Africa. They say that you don't have to use preservatives, but it's very strong. And the next conclusion is that in coffins, China has relatively stable use of certain kind of wood. Asian people have deep understanding of the wood, different wood's property, and compared with Japan, in wood structure in coffin, there are some differences that can be found. But in cypress, in fir, there are some similarities. But in softwood utilization, some differences may be because of the different forest resources between the two countries or some of the cultural habits. After I have been to Tibet once. I'm really impressed. I love Buddha Lagoon. I love the young and young religious followers. And a little advertisement here. Our research institute welcome everyone to participate in a biomass conference that will be opened between 19th to 21st of August of this year. Wish to see you then.
And your perspective written in the abstract was completely same with mine. So I want to collaborate with you near future. Yeah. And I want to show the slide, the last two. Some comparison between Japan and China. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Much higher. Sorry. Oh, thank you. So, in Japan, there are several species is written, but the most important species is, I should say, two species. One, Hinoki cypress, most important, especially for palace building. The second importance, I should say, Tserkova, hardwood, Tserkova. Two major species is very important for palace building, shrine, temple. How about in China? Are there any very important species for the building, temple, and the palace site?
Yeah, I think because in our country it's very huge, so I just do some little work. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think I just group 3. So I think in the northwest part, the main matter is poplar.
Poplar, northern part.
Yeah, poplar. Yeah, and around in the Beijing, I think is Larix. It's Larix.
Larix.
Yeah. But in the different older building, use different species, special for the forbidden building. Yeah. But in the Shanxi province, in the south east of the Shanxi province, is a major is ulmus and curcus species, I think. Yeah.
So, no Tserkova has been used for the building.
Yeah.
Only tomb.
Yeah. In the before I mentioned, and Tserkova I just maybe I can't find because I'm not do a lot of wood identification.
Okay.
Right?
Thank you. And another question is about the Tom.
Yeah.
In Japan, most important species for coffee
Yeah.
is Cyathopithis
Yeah.
heruticillata.
Yeah.
This is the only species growing in Japan. So
Yeah.
the second importance is Hinoki cypress. These are two species very important
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
making coffee.
Yeah.
How about in China?
In China, I think for the softwood, maybe it's carburizing and some hard pinners. Yeah. And for the hardwood, maybe it's catalapa.
Yeah. If we could have frequency of number,
Yeah.
it would be very
Yeah.
easy
Yeah.
to understand.
Yeah. Because I know our identification job is the wood sample is smaller,
Yeah.
but and don't like yours. So
Okay.
so I think this just no calculated wood sample wood species the percentage.
Okay.
So I'm sorry because maybe a lot of work to do in the future.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Yes, please, this is a question for Professor Xiaomei and also to Professor Pan Biao, both of you. Please, I would like to know what is the relations between wood anatomist and archaeologist in the moment, if there is, and how you can imagine them in a future.
Yeah, I think there is a good question, but it's very it's difficult to answer because it's very big. For us, because we do some identification work, just our small part for me, for my research work. So no, find some more time to do some check some conference and some background and history and everything. In the future, maybe after retired, have enough time so we can do, like you said, maybe we can do my best.
Thank you very much. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Xiaomei. I'd like to know one or two points. One is in Japan, southern part of Japan, the podocarpus wood frequently used for coffin or construction of a house because its the durability for termite is very high. So it is very popular to use that purpose. In the southern part of China, the culture of the expansion of culture maybe came from the southern part of China to Japan. But such the wood culture might be come from southern part of China. So I'd ask you, the podocarpus wood is used in such a purpose in the southern part of China or anywhere in China? Podocarpus wood.
Podocarpus. About podocarpus, I think in our a lot of identification, I can't find this wood species.
Oh.
So you should be asked Dr. Pandyo. Right? Sorry, because I have no idea about podocarpus. Yeah, but I think this wood.
I think
the
the Taiwan
quality
and
is very
the
nice,
and yeah, some people, yeah.